are listening to the War Report.
Give us 2 road games or 2 home games, and they asked Sankey for the alternating, and he just moved the game up to the middle of the season. That's the best they were going to get. And if you got to play both of these on the road, I gotta say I am in favor of playing this game in October and not in November, if it's going to be both of those guys on the road.
Right.
So, like,
I mean, Texas and Oklahoma isn't in November.
there's plenty of rivalry games in the
But I'm
middle
just
of the
saying he's
season.
big game boomer. If we're going to talk, I'm going to talk about his rivalry that's
Yeah,
not
for
in
sure.
November.
The Red River rivalry or whatever the hell that shit is. Listen, this game, it to me, it always felt better in November, certainly. But I kind of like the idea of the mid-season stakes. Now, Auburn hasn't been holding up their end of the bargain since this change happened, right? So it hasn't been much of a, you know what I mean,
Right.
SEC changing matchup. But I do like it. I do like this game in October, actually. You know, as long as we continue to play it, when they bring the pods in, right? I hope they put Oklahoma and Bama back to back on their schedule at the end of the season, so Boomer can complain about it. We got to play Saban and Kirby back to back games. We just got here; they already treating us like this.
All right, guys, listen, let's get back to it. Let's talk about our defense versus Georgia's offense. Now, Paul, I know a lot to be happy about, but Auburn can't really talk because we've been giving the ball away a lot, but Georgia has actually turned the ball over 5 times in the past 2 games, which is a big reason why these games have been pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
What's going on with your boy Lad?
What's been the story? What's been the
happening with
story?
your boy Lad?
Yeah, Lad was a fine lad last year, but you know, it's for whatever reason, I think he's got into his head a little bit. You were hoping that was going to come out of the Mizzou game and he'd kind of straighten it out. It didn't. So you just got to keep riding with him right now. You want A.D. Mitchell back, you know, but you want a lot of things in life. And until you get A.D. Mitchell back, you're going to have to run this weird offense to where you've got 2 tight ends on the field with Bowers and Washington. You're going to try to go to Rosemary Jackson. They don't have that X receiver. And what I mean by that is a George Pickens, you know, anybody like that with AD not being on the field. So, you know, you're trying to find that next best man. And they look to Lad for that. And just, you know, he stumbled a couple of times. But at the same time, he played some really good football last year as a true freshman, you know, and they relied on him heavily in a lot of situations. So I wouldn't give up on him just yet. But what Georgia does with Washington and Bowers out there is just absolutely crazy, man. It's something to behold. Watching those 2 guys on the field at the same time, pulling in front of, you know, McIntosh or Milton or Edwards or whoever, they just do a tremendous job, man. And a lot to be said about Todd Monken. You know, his name's getting floated around for head coaching jobs. It seems like every one that comes up has Monken as one of the lead candidates, and rightfully so. I mean, his offense is really clicking on a level that you wouldn't think with a guy like Stetson Bennett at quarterback. And you look at it, there's not really that wide receiver that can blow the doors off anybody.
Stetson Bennett is throwing the ball a lot over the first 5 games of the season compared to last year. Is that just more faith in him as a quarterback? I mean, he had 31 passes. I mean, he had a game with like less than 13 passes or something last year that you guys won. But, you know, he's, again, 31, 34 versus Stanford versus South Carolina. He had 23 against Missouri last week. He threw the ball 43 times. You know, can we expect to see them continue the high volume of throws there for Stetson against this Auburn defense? You know, this has been a defense that, I mean, I don't know. I feel like they're kind of mid. They've been mid, but the pass rush has been improving. And DJ James and Keontae Scott have emerged as, you know, really good defensive backs in this league. You know, are we expecting them to air it out?
Yeah, until they can get this running game figured out and see who the, you know, primary running back is going to be. They relied on Dejon Edwards to, you know, close them out last week against Mizzou and get them down the field, that little 5-minute offense in the fourth. I'm curious to see who they're going to rely on moving forward. Is it Kendall Milton? Is it Kenny Mack? Is it Dejon Edwards? You know, there's a lot of guys that can play that running back position, but nobody's really stepped up yet. So I'm just curious to see who's going to do that. And yeah, I would agree. You know, Stetson's probably going to air the ball out quite a good bit, just because that's what they're having to rely on right now.
He's done a good job of avoiding pressure even though he's been under a lot of pressure in these last couple of games. He hasn't taken a ton of sacks though. So Stetson Bennett, man, I hats off to him for being just a gamer, man. He's just out there playing ball. I like what I see from him when he improvises. He's been able to get the ball to his playmakers. He's not like a world beater, but he's definitely not the guy who people have for the last couple of years pegged as the liability on that offense.
Right. Exactly. I mean, he's in his, 50th year. So he's got it down pat, he's been around for a while. Then finally it's his team. So, he's going to make it his team.
Georgia's always had a running back by committee over the past few years, and that's a lot of what I'm seeing this year as well. What has been the difference? Obviously, you had guys like Zamir White, who was tearing it up last year. But what do you think has been the difference in this season? Are you just looking for someone to emerge, or what's been the thing?
Yeah, you've got to find somebody that can emerge out of those three. I don't think they've found them yet. And they've given them all three really good chances to do so, but they haven't. None of them have stepped up to the plate completely. So it's still an open job back there. And like Caesar said, they're so used to having that one guy that can just pound the rock, and they don't have it right now. So it could be a liability later on down the road.
Guys, any what are your obvious concerns has been with the linebacker position over the past few weeks, and they're matched up tight ends, running backs. What do you expect Georgia to do? Obviously, they've seen this on film, so there's obvious some things Georgia may try to do. What is it that we can hope for to shore up that position, or to at least kind of mask its weaknesses?
Who is our linebacker coach? Is it Christian Robinson?
It's Christian Robinson.
They need to donate half of his salary to charity, man. Like, these linebackers are not playing well, and they're not wrapping up. They're picking, they're taking the wrong gaps. Linebacker play has easily been the most disappointing position group on this team, offense or defense. To me, easily. We expected what we expected from the O-line. Right. I think now that Robbie Ashford has kind of emerged as the front runner at quarterback, people are less pessimistic because he can move, and we need that behind this line. Tank and Jarquez are tanking Jarquez. The wide receivers are, again, just not as bad. We've got playmakers at defensive back. The D-line is starting to get pressure. It's the linebackers, man. Now, a lot of things could have won the game last week, but Steiner had a chance to make a name for himself, and he blew a tackle. Yeah, that ended up being a score. Yeah. Now, there's nothing to say that they don't score on the subsequent plays, but, those are the ones you look back on, and you're just like, you had them, man. You had a guy dead to rights.
For a loss, too. Not just a tackle, but he had a tackle for a loss that he just whiffed on.
And so I heard it wasn't just I heard an explanation from a coach. I forgot where I heard it today, but again, Pap was out of position again on that play. That was supposed to be a gang tackle. He was supposed to be there to make the play as well, too, they were saying. And he just wasn't. He went up the wrong gap, and he just wasn't anywhere around to help Steiner. And again, in a game that you lose by one score is just really, really disappointing. So it's linebacker play worries me here. If our defensive ends can't shut down some of that stuff before things get to the second level. So I think that Stetson Bennett is an underrated athlete outside of the pocket, operating outside of the pocket. Personally, I like his game. I think when he gets moving, every once in a while he'll rip off like a 25-yarder on you, and it just doesn't look like he's supposed to be able to do that, but he can. And our linebackers chasing Stetson around, worry me a little bit. So hopefully they took a look on tape about what that is. And, the tackling drills should have been front and center at practice this week. When I rewatched the tape from LSU, I was really disappointed in the tackling. Robbie Ashford might have had the best tackle on the day.
No, that might have. He did.
He did.
Yeah, right. It's going to be interesting to see how this goes down. But I fear, no matter how he looks, I fear Stetson Bennett. I think he's earned the right to be feared. And he seems to have great chemistry with his playmakers in the passing game as well too. I don't know. This is a tall, if they're going to pull anything off, they've got to figure something out at linebacker. I would remind everybody that Papo was the highest rated recruit in that 2019 class. He was one of the highest rated recruits we've had, period. But this was a guy who was supposed to be a can't miss prospect. This is supposed to be your star, man. This is supposed to be the guy that comes in and is definitely going first 2 rounds in the NFL draft.
Is he not doing it? I haven't watched Auburn much.
No, man. He's having a terrible season. Yeah.
He's from right up the road at Grayson, so I've watched him since he was what feels like he's 12 years old.
Yeah. Every week we're talking about him missing a tackle, some important tackle. Every week. So it's going to be tough.
And I would ask, is he just simply playing out of position in terms of just him just not being strong? But regardless of where you're on the field, you can't miss tackles, right? If you're there, you got to wrap up. There's no position you can put him in that improve that.
Yeah, he's just Jaden Daniels made him look silly on the one run. Now, mind you, he's a great athlete, so it was good athlete on good athlete. But he's just not given a chance one-on-one to make plays. He's just not making plays. And that's tough, man, from a guy who was one of the most senior guys in the team.